Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you follow me on Instagram, you would have seen the other day that I asked whether or not you wanted to see a video about, like a Q&A about my dissertation, because I got my grade back the other day and I got first class, which is incredible. I'm really proud of myself for that. And obviously I wanted to share some tips that I learned along the way, things that I did which really helped me. I'm not saying that if you do this you will get a first class dissertation, like it's quite hard, but I thought I'd help you. But really the main way I got that was because I put a lot of effort into it and then I did something that I was really interested in. But I've compiled all of the main questions that I was given on Instagram. Basically a lot of people just ask the same questions about like topics and things, so hopefully I'll just be able to run through these and answer everyone's questions within just a few questions. But also if you have any other questions you can comment in the comment section and I'll hopefully get back to you and have the answer to that as well. So the first question I got was, what was my topic, what did I write about? And the title of my dissertation was, does community-based antenatal education improve women's experiences of the latent phase of labour? A participatory action research study. So the background to that is that my dissertation was a literature review and then a research proposal, so it was like 50-50 one of those. So my literature review was based around the literature surrounding the latent phase of labour and how women cope with that and how women are cared for during that. And then the research proposal section was me proposing a study which investigates how to improve women's experiences of the latent phase through antenatal education. So that's that. And the biggest question I got that was asked the most was, how do you pick a topic? So I picked that topic because the latent phase is something that I'm really interested in, and specifically women's experiences of it, because we've all heard someone say, I was in labour for 48 hours, I was in labour for 30 hours, when really we know as midwives say you're probably in the latent phase for a really good proportion of that time, unless there was something significantly wrong. And I think educating women about how labour progresses and how it starts and sort of expected time frames and what your body's doing is really important, because a lot of women are fearful and anxious in that time, and I'm really passionate about that. See, I've just gone on and spoken about it when I hadn't even planned to, because it's something I could talk about for ages. And my biggest tip for you is to write a dissertation about something you can talk about for ages, because it's a long old piece of work. Mine was 8,000 words. The literature review was quite short. Most people do a full literature review, so it will be considerably longer than the one that I did. So choose a topic or something you could literally lecture someone on. So yeah, that's how I picked it. And I went through so many different topic ideas. I was sat in the library just staring out the window with my music on thinking, what annoys me? What do I want to change? Because that's really what I wanted to focus on. I'm someone who's very like forward thinking, and I want to know like how can I make things better for women in the future. So I wanted to really focus my dissertation on that, like looking at the evidence and seeing how can we make things better. So I think that's a good place to start, because everyone has areas of midwifery where they think, oh, I wish that was different, or I want to know more about that because I don't understand it. So pick something like that. I did loads of reading, like I went through ideas about continuity of care, different forms of antenatal education. That's something I'm really passionate about. And then obviously I came onto the latent phase because I was sat in the library thinking about one of my friends, well, she's a friend of a friend, and she had a really horrible time in the latent phase, going back and forth to hospital, getting sent home. And I remember hearing how frustrated she was about being sent home. And it's just really hard when I thought to myself, she was obviously not properly spoken to about that time, because if she understood more about latent phase, maybe she would have had a better experience. So yeah, that's how I picked my topic. I just chose something that really like bugged me and I wanted to change. And the next question I got was where to start. So that's where I would say where to start. Think about what you're interested in, what bugs you, and then read the literature around it, because you can have something that's really interesting to you but the literature can be really boring, and you can think, oh, if that's the direction that my literature review or this dissertation is going to go in, I don't want to do it. Because initially I thought I was going to write about continuity of care models, because that is something that I'm interested in. But when I got into the literature, it was dull. As in, to me, it was dull. It wasn't something which I thought I could really sink my teeth into and write a good piece about, like a critical piece about. And the key is to be critical. You need to find good critical literature, and I just didn't find that for that topic. So that's where I'd say where to start. And I used a spreadsheet to collect all my literature on, and that was a really good thing, so I could go back and think to myself, oh, I read that somewhere else, where was it? And you can like search the screen and find it. So yeah, That's where I'd start. Collect your literature, find a topic that you're really interested and passionate about, and start reading the literature and see if it inspires you. That is where I would start. My next question was, how long did it take? So I obviously started, I think it was in November that we first started our units for that module, but I really didn't start properly writing my dissertation until January of this year, and it was due in April, so February, March, April, so 3 months I would say I wrote my dissertation in. But prior to that, I was doing loads of reading, so I was basically from November to December, or maybe even, no, yeah, it was November, December was mainly a reading and collecting information and organising my ideas period, so that was 2 months. And then I really started writing and actively working on it for the 3 months of February, March, April, yeah, the 3 months, January, February, March, and then it was during the beginning of April. So yeah, 3 months it sort of took me. And for each section, I'm someone who works better under pressure, so it was like a bit of an exponential, my workload. It was slow at the beginning and then sort of it got quicker towards the end, but it depends how your dissertation is broken up. Mine had lots of little sections, so like the literature review, an ethics section, a research proposal, and the research proposal was cut up into lots of different sections, so it was easy to work on and set mini deadlines. So yeah, the time frame for each section is difficult to describe, but I would say you end up backloading it. You have a long period at the start where you don't have word count to show for it, but you're reading and organising your thoughts, and I would recommend using Excel because I was able to put the author in the heading, put my ideas there in a box, and you're able to compare and contrast really easily. And the most important thing with the dissertation is to be critical, and when you have all your sources on an Excel spreadsheet and you can see it like that, it's so much easier to be critical, because I was highlighting boxes on each, so I'd write a statement from an author in one box and I'd highlight it in pink because it said, oh, women experience anxiety in the latent phase, and then if another author said women experience anxiety in the latent phase, I would highlight that in pink as well. So when it came to organising my thoughts and writing the word count, it didn't take me too long. I was much quicker than I would be writing a normal essay because I had those points there already, because I'd read the literature, I'd critiqued it already, and I'd put it in a spreadsheet. I might not have written things on a Word document to give to someone, but it was there ready for when I did write it. I could bash out 1,000 words in a couple of hours because I had it there. So that, yeah, 3 months it took me to write a dissertation, but really it was 5 months because there was 2 months of reading at the beginning. I would say I work fast, but I know that some people, like my friend Tilly, she's not a midwife, but she wrote a dissertation in like a couple of weeks, but I would not recommend doing that. I think if you want a high grade, which is another question that someone's asked me, how to get a high grade, you've got to aim to be really critical and to have a really broad and wide knowledge base and read a significant amount and really understand the processes. With a literature review, it's understanding the research process, so I would take time to really in-depthly understand the methodologies, and so how the research was carried out, the different techniques the authors use to get those, to get the information that they got and how they've interpreted it. When you understand that background of study of how to collect information, when you read a piece of literature, you read it differently and you have a better critical eye, and you get the higher marks from being critical and comparing and contrasting different sources. So read critically, understand the research process, and then convey that concisely, because the more concisely you can convey your point, the less waffle you have and the more succinct and effective points you can make. So that's how to write quickly and get a high grade. So reading and understanding the process behind the research that you're reading is incredibly important. So someone also asked how to manage placement in between. I actually found it easier to write my dissertation when I was on placement, because I'm someone who needs structure in my life, and I find when I have placement, I know, okay, I'm on placement these days, and then the days in between I'll go to the library and then I'll have like a couple of days off maybe. So yeah, I found it easy, and actually I liked being on placement whilst I was writing, because I was able to sometimes discuss what I was writing with midwives, and they'd always say, oh, yeah, that's really interesting, and then they'd speak their experiences to me around the topic. And for me, that was something that really kept the excitement and the fire going for me. And yeah, another question someone's asked is how to keep motivated during a long-term assignment, and I would say talking to people about your assignment topic, and regularly meeting with your supervisors and just having the topic in your mind all the time and thinking about it. It really just encourages you to think critically and to be excited by the topic. So talking to other midwives and other students about my topic was something that really kept me going, because it just made me more and more interested. And I'm the type of person where if I speak something out loud, I have no ideas, and I'll say it and I'm like, oh, I wish I was recording myself saying that, because I will remember that later. So sometimes when I have those ideas, I have to write them down quickly. Often ideas come to me in the shower and I'm like, I need to remember this one to get at, but you know what I mean. So yeah, to keep motivated in a long-term assignment, always talk about your topic, even if it absolutely bores someone to death. My boyfriend is probably like, I didn't want to hear about it, but I would just say it to him and I'd be like, sorry, I know it's boring, but I just like talking about it. But yeah, and regularly meeting with your supervisor and setting mini goals. So say, okay, my supervisor's name was Jacqueline. Okay, Jacqueline, I'm going to send you the start of my theme 1 by next Friday, and then I'll send you the start of theme 2 by the next day. So it just meant that I could keep going and keep motivated, because I had mini deadlines, and that's really important to me because I do work to deadlines quite short. Like I like to do things at the last minute, but if I have mini deadlines, it means that I don't, you know, end up with a mammoth task at the end. But if you've watched my previous videos about my dissertation diaries videos, you can see how I used that time and how I sort of needed that to keep myself going, and it just like spurred me on to keep writing and keep going, because otherwise it can be easy to just get into a habit of not writing or not reading. But then when you break that and you start reading and you're like, oh, why did I ever stop? Because now I've got so much more to do, but it's so interesting, you know what I mean? So yeah, where did I get to? The hardest part. Sometimes what was the hardest part of the dissertation? And to be honest, the hardest part was, yeah, tackling some of just the process things. Because there's parts of dissertations or literature reviews in particular, which is like academic process, and you're not, day to day you don't think like that, you just think freely with your thoughts. And I think sometimes the hardest part is to get your mind into an academic space and write consistently with good grammar, using the correct terminology and getting your head around that. I think if you spend time, like I said before, getting your head around the research terminology and, you know, academic speech, it can do you a big favour, because for me that's the hardest thing. I'm not a natural academic, I'm not someone who has eloquent vocabulary or a really broad vocabulary, so that's what I really had to work on, was making myself sound more academic than I actually am, basically. And yeah, keeping motivated is hard, but as I said, mini goals really helps. So yeah, the last thing is just overall tips. Gosh, I've really whizzed through that. I thought it was going to be much longer, but really it's as simple as that. So yeah, my end tips would just be to keep yourself excited about what you're writing. Pick something you're extremely passionate about and something that you want to change. For me, the importance is change. We're always, midwifery is something that's ever changing. Women are forever changing. Our world is really dynamic. So I think, you know, service improvement is a really good place to go if that's something that you're interested in, because you can really sink your teeth into it and apply it to, you know, bettering women's care and all of that. And that is, every midwife should be passionate about that. Being with women and having the best possible experience, birth experience they can have, is something that midwives should advocate for women at all times. So just pick an aspect of that you're really interested in and you should be absolutely fine. Having a good relationship with your supervisor is also completely essential. Jacqueline, I would literally dedicate my dissertation to her, because she helped me so much. She let me send her countless drafts, and she would let me bounce ideas off her in meetings, and really she directed my path into somewhere which is just, was something really interesting. You know, speaking to someone, whether it's your supervisor, sometimes supervisors aren't the best I know, whether it's supervisors or another midwife or someone you're close with, to bounce ideas off, have someone where you can have those discussions with, because it keeps, you know, the fire inside you lit to keep writing. And that really is the best thing to do, is have momentum and just keep going at it, because in the end it pays off. I was thinking to myself, oh, I want to give up, but I knew that I wanted to be proud of my dissertation. It was something that was really important to me to be proud of it, because, you know, I'm the first person in my family to ever go to uni, and probably that last for a long time. And having that really big piece of work which is all yours, all original, and just everything that you've ever wanted is something to be proud of. So I wanted to be proud of it, and that was something that really motivated me. And like I've said before, mini deadlines, read loads, and just don't stop. And have an original idea, and the best way to have an original idea is to pick something that you're passionate about. And when I say original, I don't mean like something that's never ever been done before, but like an original angle. Like they said that like CTG's been done to death, but if you find like a specific part about it that you can see a gap in the literature for, just go for it, but just make sure that you're interested in it. So yeah, that is all of my advice. I hope you found it helpful. If you've got any more questions, feel free to leave a comment or DM me on Instagram or Twitter, wherever you follow me or find me. Those links to my socials will be in the description. So yeah, I hope this video was helpful. Feel free to leave comments, like, and please subscribe to my channel for more videos I hope to make soon.